Park to actually win by his own submission. And probably in that second. So I'm gonna go Jung Park to defeat André Muniz. I'll take him to win.
Let's go.
Round 2 submission.
Time to grind, get inside your mind. Yeah, we working overtime. That's the only way to climb. We gon' make it in our prime. Signing on the dotted line, cashing checks left and right. That's the way I'm living life. I feel alive when I got a goal in sight. Chip away, I gotta fight. Ain't nobody else in sight. Man, I think I see the light. Yeah, that shit is so bright. Follow me, I got the guide. See you on the other side, son. Ain't nobody know what I've been through.
What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Vegas 83 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, December 9th, 2023, out of the UFC Apex. Song versus Gutierrez in the main event. Interesting matchup. Co-main event, Anthony Smith taking on Khalil Rountree Jr. Either will be a really exciting finish or just one of those fights that they both kind of coast and nothing happens. So classic UFC Apex card. Looking to bounce back from the last one, just ended up on the wrong side of a lot of things. And some things too, like Miesha Tate winning. I mean, hindsight's like, I guess, but I didn't think it was going to be that, you know, just take her down consistently and all that. And then obviously with Jalen Turner, I mean, I thought Bobby Green would do a little bit more than that. Obviously Arman Tsarukyan was able to go out there and be more impressive than just getting a decision. So regardless though, 6-6, it is what it is. Obviously try to bounce back on this one and see what happens. So let's go ahead and talk about the first fight. In the first fight on the main card, we have Jung Park coming in with a 17-5 record, taking on André Muniz, who is 23-6 in a middleweight bout. So I think before I was like really hyped up on André Muniz, not because like, oh, he's going to take him down, but I really thought like maybe he would start working a little bit more on his striking and mixing it all. And he'd be a pretty well-rounded fighter who's pretty dominant, right? But unfortunately, when you look at his last two fights, now granted, they're against pretty good competition, right? Paul Craig, you know, he did move down to that division, so maybe he's going to start going on a run. But okay, two good solid guys, Paul Craig, Brendan Allen. When it comes to the grappling, solid guys. And both guys, they were able to get those victories, one a submission and the other one KO TKO. And they had good takedown defense, right? They didn't get taken down and annihilated and, you know, reverse position. We saw with Paul Craig, Brendan Allen obviously just being able to handle him. I think this fight is kind of one of those fights too where Jung Park very strong, right? In the grappling, I think he's very strong. So I could see definitely a reversal. I could see just flat out defending a takedown, right? And then Jung Park, he's willing to go to war, right? So he'll trade back for a solid chin, right? He'll go back and forth with his opponent. And when the other guy starts gassing out, like Jung Park, he's still just trying to throw bombs on your head. And at the same time, he can pull for a submission, right? He can pull and be strong. If he gets a guillotine, he's going to latch onto it. We saw that against Albert Duraev. You know, coming out of that first round, he was latched onto a guillotine. And then we had him winning in the second round, hurting him badly, just kind of outpacing him, right? Just staying in his face. And even though he was eating some shots, he just kept coming forward to give you that pressure, kind of like just a zombie at times. And, you know, he did lose against Gregory Rodriguez via KO TKO in round number 2. But I mean, even in that fight, like he was putting up a good war back and forth, right? He's going to stay in there. And I think he's very dangerous with those submissions because they can come at any time. Like he could be brawling and you're like, oh, this guy's not really doing anything. And then you get rocked a little bit. Next thing you know, he's trying to pull a guillotine on you while you're standing still. So in a fight where Muniz is probably not going to be the better fighter on the striker, at least, I mean, sure, he can land like a big shot here or there, something like that, but he's not going to be stringing together like combinations. And I don't see Muniz in the third round, if it's a war, being able to hang with that, right? He's not going to be trading back and forth. It'll start to get really sloppy in comparison to Parks. So Muniz, he's obviously going to try to go for those takedowns, and that's sketchy too, because if Park is pulling a guillotine and he's latched onto you and strong arming you to the floor, like I don't care who André Muniz is, like that's going to be a problem for him. And I do think Park is probably going to try to defend some takedowns early on and just get in his face, try to string together combinations. Maybe he eats a shot, but he's still coming for it. He's making it a war. Obviously, it's a fight, so Park could just get absolutely annihilated if he goes in for a takedown or something, or he gets rocked by one shot. But for the most part, based on what I've seen, I think Park can make this one a war, tire out Muniz, and then maybe in that second round, because I think it'll happen early on, right? I think if Park is able to defend those takedowns, or just even reverse some positions, even if it's against the fence in the clinch, and obviously land some pretty hard shots on the feet, I think in that second round, Muniz is going to be gassed out, and Park's going to keep coming at him, defend a takedown, reverse a position, and you're just going to kind of see Muniz start diving in for takedowns, and that's when that's going to be a problem. And that's when I think Park tries to pull for a submission, and then he's able to kind of just, because Muniz is really tired, he's going to get submitted. Park could end up in some bad situations, but I do think even if Muniz is able to get him to the ground, I don't know. I just feel like Muniz, he's going to constantly have to be doing a lot of work. And the longer this fight goes on, it's just going to favor Park. So Muniz, maybe he's able to pull off a submission early here, but I'm liking Jung Young Park to actually win by his own submission, and probably in that second round. So I'm going to go Jung Young Park to defeat Andre Muniz. I'll take him to win by round 2 submission. In the second fight on the main card, we have Tim Elliott coming in with a 20-13-1 record, taking on Sumudaerji 16-5 in a bantamweight bout. So Tim Elliott is, I believe he's the replacement coming into this one. So it's short notice. He's coming off a loss against Muhammad Mokaev, submission round number 3. And then he took on 2 guys, decision, lost to decision, wins, lost via submission, decision, submission. I mean, he's not getting knocked out. I'll say that. Like, he definitely can go for those 3 rounds, or he's getting submitted, right? Or he's trying to submit someone to anaconda choke. He's getting submitted via guillotine choke. Now, I think that guillotine choke is obviously going to be there just because of him diving in for those takedowns consistently. He's definitely one of these guys who's going to try to go in there. And against someone like Sumudaerji, who's going to have that reach advantage, just the length advantage, you know, he's got to get in on him to attack him at all, right? So you can't just sit back and let Sumudaerji pick you apart. And I think it'll be interesting because Sumudaerji in his last fight, he lost against Matt Chanel in a fight where he was winning, like he was hurting him bad multiple times, you know, going to the body, really hurting him badly. And then he just ends up in the wrong position, and Matt Chanel able to pull off one of the comebacks of a lifetime, right? So he ends up getting submitted in that fight, but he can definitely put together some good striking. And I think that's something that's a little concerning, because I think Sumudaerji is going to have moments to probably tee off on Elliot. And it's just a matter of whether or not Elliot is able to escape that, use his defense, or go in for those takedowns to kind of stay off the feet. So, but at the same time, Tim Elliott being that guy who's going to constantly go for those takedowns, work weird angles, try to close the distance, it's going to be like annoying to deal with, because Elliott's going to be spamming those takedowns, right? He'll be going in for him and trying to see what he can do. But on the feet, yeah, I mean, I think on the feet, Sumudaerji obviously is probably going to be the better fighter on the feet. Just harder shots, just going for KOs kind of like that, versus Tim Elliott, who's, I mean, Tim Elliott, if he lands clean, but it's just going to be so hard for him to get in close. So I'm a little concerned about that. But he's been in the UFC. You know, he's not getting like knocked out in every fight. He's at least going to these decisions where he's getting those takedowns. Close volume with the fighters he's fighting. Nothing crazy. He's not outlanding people like by like an insane amount. So he'll keep up with you, right? He's kind of like a workhorse. He'll keep up the pace. He might gas just a little bit, but he's not to the point where he's sloppy. Always going for something, even if it doesn't make sense, right? He'll go for a submission or try to reverse. But Sumudaerji, he's going to be tough to get by early on, I think, and that's like the biggest concern here. But at the same time, you know, if he's able to take Sumudaerji down consistently and just control him on the floor, it's not probably going to be the best thing ever for him. So, and I don't like, Sumudaerji is probably not going to be the guy diving in for takedown. So I'm not really worried about Tim Elliott being the guy getting taken down, or like having to consistently fight off takedowns. And even like Matt Schnell was able to get him down twice. You know, he defended some takedowns, but yeah, I don't know. It's Tim Elliott, right? He's a workhorse. He's going to go in there. And like I said, he's not getting knocked out. Hasn't actually won by a submission since 2020. Or no, he lost via submission in 2020. He hasn't won by a submission since 2017. I guess he could get himself into an awkward position here. Maybe Sumudaerji is able to pull off something, but I think more so Elliot will find a way to get in close. He'll do the tiring game where he's taking you down, pressing you against the fence, just trying to work all of his muscles out, not give him the space that he needs to start teeing off and playing a little bit more safe. Like Matt Schnell, I think he's one of those fighters who will definitely go for it. He'll get into that firing range and go back and forth just because like that's how he is. I mean, we saw that he was getting hurt, and the next thing you know, this dude's ending up getting a submission victory. Tim Elliott, he's gonna try to be tactical about it, technical about it, and he's not going to just rush in and start brawling, right? I don't see him doing that. So I'm gonna go Tim Elliott. I think he gets those takedowns and makes it kind of an annoying fight for Sumudaerji. So I'm gonna go Tim Elliott to defeat Sumudaerji. I'll take him to win by decision. In the third fight on the main card, we have Nasrat Haqparast, 15-5, taking on Jamie Mullarkey, 17-6 in a lightweight bout. So Nasrat Haqparast, he's one of these fighters that unfortunately for him just cannot get past that next level competition, right? He takes on, I mean, I'm not going to look at Marcin Helda's next level competition, but his first fight in the UFC loses via decision. He actually beats Joaquim Silva. He ends up fighting Judober. He gets taken out. Right, has 2 more wins after that. He fights Dan Hooker, decision, and pretty dominant. Then after that, they give him another guy, Bobby Green. He ends up just getting significantly outstruck, loses via decision. Now he comes back. He ends up fighting John McDessie, puts on a pretty good performance there, ends up getting a knockdown, and he gets 2 takedowns in that fight. Then he fights Landon Quinones in the next one, significantly 171 big striking battle, 171 significant strikes to his 148. He wins via unanimous decision. So, and he actually tried going for 5 takedowns in that fight. I don't think he will go for takedowns here. I see it trying to be like a striking battle. I think obviously Jamie Mullarkey is going to be the one trying to go in for the takedowns here, seeing if he can get off the feet. Because for me, Nasrat Haqparast, like he's good. Like when he's fighting guys that are just have lesser striking skill than him, it's obvious, right? And I think this is one of those fights where Mullarkey, I mean, we saw his fight against John McDessie. He was eating some damage in that fight. He was definitely eating some good shots in that one. He was able to pull off a unanimous decision, but I mean, there were moments where I felt like McDessie was landing clean, and you're fighting a guy who he's gonna land clean too. Right, Haqparast is going to put together those combinations. He gets you up against the fence, rips to the body. He can eat some shots, but he's just constantly working. He's constantly throwing something out there, going for it, just giving you all the angles. Whereas Mullarkey, yeah, I mean, I think he's going to probably try to go in for a takedown. His striking is okay. Like he'll go for some leg kicks. He's solid, but it's not I don't think it's like that high volume like Haqparast. I think he tries to hit one shot, go for a leg kick. He's trying to slow the fight down versus, Mullarkey's putting up like 186 significant strikes. He's not doing that. Yeah, I mean, Mullarkey can't back up against the fence because, again, Haqparast likes to press forward a little bit. I do think Mullarkey does overextend, though, on some of his power shots. And, he definitely is going to get countered off of those. And if Haqparast is able to just continuously out-volume him and get in his face, I just think he outworks him for 3 rounds. Now, granted, if Mullarkey is able to get those takedowns, maybe he tries to go in for those takedowns, he might be able to slow the fight down, get some damage while he's doing a ground and pound. But I still think Haqparast is going to be able to get back up. He has a 78% takedown defense. So, yeah, I like Haqparast in this one unless he just eats a horrible shot and gets annihilated. I think he just outworks him. And he might be even able to slow down that wrestling. He might be able to stop it if they're against the fence, reverse, or whatever. I don't want to count him out as well in the grappling or the wrestling. So for me, Haqparast, he's a good decision dude. Either he's winning by decision or he's losing, right? So I'm going to have to go Nasrat Haqparast to defeat Jamie Mullarkey. I'll take him to win by decision. In the co-main event of the evening, we have Anthony Smith, 37-18, taking on Khalil Rountree Jr., 13-5, in a light heavyweight bout. So Anthony Smith, right off the bat, coming off that win over Ryan Spann, split decision. I mean, he was definitely eating some damage here, and that's my concern here in this fight is that he's definitely one of these guys who's going to wear the damage, right? He's going to have his eye start shutting if Roundtree Jr. just blasts him with like a left hand to the head and splits his eye open. Like he's gonna look the damage, and it's just concerning. And then on top of that too, Anthony Smith, early on, I'm afraid that he's going to take a big shot and start turtling. And when he starts doing that, like it's never good, right? You never want to see a guy just turtle. Some guys take damage very well and just don't care. And they're like, okay, bring the next shot, right? But Smith is one of these guys where you can definitely see him get hurt. He's going to have to survive early on, take away the legs of Roundtree Jr., go after the body, and then see maybe if he can tire him to the point where he can grapple possibly, or get himself into a position to where Roundtree Jr. is just gassed out and he's able to be submitted, right? I can see that happening, but my concern is that first, second round, even early on in those rounds of just Roundtree, slowing it down a little bit, which we've seen him do a little bit, taking his time, pinpointing with those big shots, and then just running over his opponent. The Dustin Jacoby fight, he might have not won that one, obviously split decision, so very split down there. He got outstruck. I think with that one, I think honestly it's more so of him defending the 3 takedowns and then probably landing the harder shots. But that was good. He didn't gas out horribly in that one. He was able to stay in there. And then against Carl Robertson, he was able to get the KO TKO. Against Modestas Bukakis, he was able to get KO TKO via that kick in round number 2. So he's definitely, yeah, he looks like one of these guys. He's out there, like, oh, he's casual, right? He's chilling. Boom, he throws up a high kick. It's all over. Or he goes to the head, he's going to throw that left hand, boom, and just blitz you. And then it's all over. So if he conserves his energy and really tries to set up those moments where Smith, counter off of a kick or something like that, like Smith is going to go down. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, if you have someone like Roundtree Jr. just annihilating you, it's all over. He did lose a decision against Bracknell where he got outstruck significantly. And that's the other thing too, is this could be one of those awkward fights where Smith is a little bit too hesitant to go in for a takedown. And Roundtree Jr. is one of these guys who defends a takedown, right? Maybe he defends a couple takedowns. And then next thing you know, Smith's kind of like, oh shit, what do I do? And then he starts trying to go in the stand-up, and Roundtree Jr. is able to drop him. And again, yeah, you don't want to be trading back and forth with Roundtree Jr. Now, granted, Smith could get lucky, but I think most of the times he's not going to just be able to trade back and forth with Roundtree Jr. I think Roundtree Jr. will absolutely crush him if this fight is, if Roundtree Jr. holds on, picks his shots well, and just goes for it. Now, if he can't finish Smith, then that's a problem. But I'm going to go with the first thing. I'm going to go with Roundtree Jr. being able to blitz him early on and taking him out. So I'm going to go with Khalil Roundtree Jr. to defeat Anthony Smith. Also, I'm going to win by round 1 KO TKO. In the main event of the evening, we have Sung Yadong 27-1 and 1 no contest, taking on Chris Gutierrez 19-4-2. Both fighters are coming off of a win, and this will be in the bantamweight division. So obviously, bantamweight division, very exciting division, very interesting fight we have here. Sung Yadong kind of stepping a little bit down, right? Kind of like I think when he fought Ricky Simone, not no disrespect, but just not like the best guy in the world. But probably because how competitive this division is, it's hard to find like guys that are freed up to fight because everyone's just fighting everyone. For Sung Yadong, he's coming off that win over Ricky Simone via KO TKO in round number 5. And that was a really good fight for him because 105 significant strikes to 60 significant strikes landed for Ricky Simone. Now, Ricky Simone did get 2 takedowns, but Sung Yadong was able to get back up, and he ended up slowly just picking him apart. Really nasty hooks, right? Solid chin as well. Very hard guy to just crush. Like, even in that fight against Corey Sandhagen, it really was more of like a doctor stoppage. They waved off the fight or whatever because of the cut. It wasn't like he wanted it. He'll fight with like no eye, right? Like, he's definitely one of these guys. He'll go out there with a broken arm, continue, whatever. He does have a loss against Kyler Phillips a little bit early on. March 6th of 2021, he lost that via decision. Kept the striking competitive, but did get taken down 3 times. He has a loss against Cody Stamen, draw against Cody Stamen. majority decision there. He got taken down 5 times. So really, when you look at this, he's only struggling against either a high level striker slash grappler, just slash fighter like Corey Sandhagen, Kyler Phillips. That was a little bit earlier on, but he did get taken down, right? And then he got taken down 5 times by Stamen. So the idea here is that like Chris Gutierrez is not going to be landing, I think, in my opinion, like 8 takedowns, 5 takedowns, like he's not going to be able to do that. Like he's more of a stand-up fighter. Both of them can grapple and wrestle, but I think it's going to primarily be a stand-up fight, right? Maybe they go back and forth on the fence with the clinch, but I don't see like one guy, I'm going in for the takedown every 2 minutes or something like that. So Sung Yadong, what can you say about him? Well, like I said, nasty power, nasty hooks, just that ability to keep coming forward, getting into a war. Not a guy you want to be trading shots with. And on top of that, Sung Yadong, I think, is probably going to land the harder shots, right? He's going to definitely be the guy going for a finish. Gutierrez has that nasty leg kick, can go to the, spinning back fist, win. Nasty leg kick, he can rip to the body as well. We saw that, but can land the knee. But when you look at who he's fought, he annihilates Frankie Edgar, right? Okay. I think Sung Yadong would probably do the same. He loses to Pedro Munoz, and that's the concerning part because he wasn't able to just pick apart Pedro Munoz in the sense of like he did on paper, 77 significant strikes to 60 for Pedro Munoz, but Munoz was able to get in close, land those hooks. He was able to do a little bit more damage, I think, in my opinion, and he did drop him, right? There's moments where Gutierrez gets countered off of very similar hooks, very similar inside, just inside striking in that pocket that Munoz loves to do. And Munoz was able to drop him. And I think Sung Yadong, if he can get into that range and they have some back and forths, and Yadong is not just getting annihilated, right? His legs getting destroyed. I think there will be those moments for him to land those big hooks, and he could possibly take out Chris Gutierrez. And I actually think this is something that's not going to happen like in the 4th or 5th round. I think early on, maybe 1st or 2nd round, we see them get into exchanges where like one guy is going to get dropped. It could be a very entertaining fight. I mean, obviously, Chris Gutierrez is going to be motivated main event for the Apex card. I mean, he's going to give it his all. And like I said, those kicks, I mean, that's definitely something that if Yadong is not handling, could get weird because obviously he's going to start to slow down or just eat too many, and I don't see him giving up, but like I could definitely see him wearing a lot of that damage and then not having the power anymore. Can't put that oomph in the step because his legs chewed apart or too much kicks to the body and he's just feeling it. So yeah, I think Sung Yadong, very tough, needs to get in close, start trading. Chris Gutierrez, obviously stay on the outside, have a little bit more movement, don't get stuck like in close, don't get stuck up against the fence, and go with those leg kicks. Just try to throw out some strikes here and there on the feet, but primarily just try to attack those legs, take away any power, take away any movement Yadong has, and yeah, I mean, just try to stay in there and see how much damage he can do to Sung Yadong before Sung Yadong is able to start clipping him, because I do think that happens, man. I really think Sung Yadong, he's gonna come forward, and maybe Chris Gutierrez is able to bait him in and then start landing that left hand that he has. He could possibly want him to come at him and then try to counter a lot. So, but I mean, just the one with the Munoz. I mean, when he got dropped by Munoz, I just see kind of something similar happening with Yadong. So, yeah, I mean, Sung Yadong has fought the better competition, and I think even in his losses, like especially against Corey Sandhagen, it was still very competitive. Like very competitive. He even landed 2 takedowns of his own in that fight. Yeah, I think he's a good fighter. So Chris Gutierrez, man, I hope he makes it competitive. I hope he tries to get in there. Both guys have solid chins though, so like maybe maybe everyone has a solid chin until you get knocked out, right? So what does that really mean? Who knows? But both guys, I think they could make it'll be a good fight, a good aggressive fight. I don't see a lot of defense, right? I don't see like both guys just doing nothing. I think they're both gonna go at each other, and it's gonna be Gutierrez kicks versus Sung Yadong's hooks on the feet, and we'll see who wins. But for me, with how competitive this is still, I think either we get a body kick finish or a leg finish, or we see Sung Yadong just kind of drop him badly and hurt him and take him out. So I'm going to go Sung Yadong to defeat Chris Gutierrez. I'll take him to win by round 2. KO TKO. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC Vegas 83 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday. Hope to do a little bit better on this event, coming off that 6-6. You know, I like to go, like, I'm not saying perfect, that's impossible, but I think at this point you could predict the fight regardless, and then you could predict how it's not gonna end up. And I've many times I just favor some guy because you think like, oh, he's gonna do it this way, and then like he just doesn't do anything like that, or he gets clipped within the first like 20 seconds and it's all over, and just that entire game plan just goes out the window, and then you're wrong. So it's all fun though. I like it, right? I like it. All fun. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your comments down below. Do you have Sung Yadong? Do you have Chris Gutierrez? And I'll see you guys in the next video.